And welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I am your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Got an Italy trip coming up for work, man, but building on a little bit of time. So it'll be nice to get out of the country for the first time, really, since pre-COVID, man. It's been a long time. So looking forward to it, man. We got finals, game 5 tonight. Nuggets need to clean this up and just get it out. Win at home. Celebrate with your fans, man. They've never seen you do it. They deserve to see it.
Man, enjoy that paid vacation, man. Paid
Thank you,
vacation in Italia, man. Enjoy the city. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the carbs. Enjoy the wine, man. Enjoy the cheese. Enjoy all of it, man.
Yeah.
The food there is amazing. Italian food, one of the all-timers, man. So enjoy every bite, man. And it's all on the company. All on the company, too.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Nothing like a paid vacation, I tell you what. To your point about the Denver Nuggets, I think the provoking thought would be finish them off tonight. You get to celebrate in Mile High City. I'm pretty sure, considering they've never won a championship in basketball, that city is going to be waiting to turn up and go crazy. And I mean, I don't know what the bars are in Denver, but whatever is the local bar next to the stadium is going to be getting a lot of business if they finish it all tonight. So we're going to start there with the NBA Finals. Watching Game 4, seeing how Miami was playing, you kind of thought maybe they had a chance. I think they were only down 5, and halftime you're thinking like maybe Jimmy Butler, somebody's going to come up and do what Miami's been doing all year and just making the games close and winning out in the end. But you kind of saw in Game 4 the aspect of team with the Denver Nuggets was on full display with other players stepping up. So, Peebush, I want to start with you. What were your thoughts over the last couple of games with the finals?
I mean, I think I'm going to jump back really quick to Game 3, man, because that was just it was a testament to exactly what I think a lot of people were worried about in this series. I think the Heat got out-rebounded by like 23 total rebounds. I mean, I think it was like high 50s to mid 30s in rebounding. Just the size of the Nuggets causing a lot of issues. We saw Spoelstra, we talked about this last week, adjusting, putting Kevin Love in there. He ended up having a pretty good game for them again. Kyle Lowry kind of kept them going in the first half. I think he had 13 points in the first half. Hey, Zoo, I never said they were going to win the game with it, but he was keeping them in it because Jimmy and Bam were not doing too much. And, I think one of the biggest things is, they need Bam Adebayo to be his offensive self, and he's been extremely aggressive in this series. The efficiency just hasn't been there, man. Just a lot of 9 of 21s, kind of that just under 45% shooting. Not what you need on a guy who's going to be taking 20 shots. And then you kind of flip onto Game 4, and that was Jamal Murray. He was 5 of 17, 5 of 18 from the field. Jokic didn't have that great of an efficiency game. Well, here comes Aaron Gordon looking like the true second option on the team, man, dropping 27, 7, and 6 on 11 of 15 shooting. And then Bruce Brown giving you 21 off the bench. I mean,
he was the closer.
He was the closer. And then, I think Jokic even shouted out Christian Brown, dude. I mean, he had a great game. Jokic even said he won them the game. I don't think he meant that literally, but just kind of showing that everybody on that team is willing to give a spark when there are other players that are a bit down and out on the shooting front. So, just looking at this Game 5, I'm not expecting there to be too many adjustments. I know Tyler Hero's kind of that questionable, potentially limited minutes designation, almost kind of what we saw with Caleb Martin when he was coming off that illness, maybe getting like 18 minutes if he's feeling good. I know he said he still has some stiffness in the hand. It's throwing off my prop bets, man. That's all I'll say. If Tyler Hero is going to be getting playing time, I don't want to touch Strus, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, a lot of these guys. Do I think it's going to be enough? I don't think so. I think they have a chance to win tonight, but I think either way it would get closed out in 6. But it's just the Nuggets here, man. We've been talking about it. I wouldn't say all year, but pretty off and on. Especially once we saw Giannis go down, it was kind of their time to shine if they were able to get through the rebounding Lakers, that we saw earlier in the playoffs. So shout out to them. I think Jamal Murray just needs to get back on track. MPJ has just been super quiet this series, very off, shooting dismally from 3-point land. Still can give you a 10 a game, which if you got guys like Bruce Brown and Aaron Gordon putting up 20 plus, then you don't really need it. But, this could affect how he's perceived when it comes to, contract years coming up. Something to consider on top of his injuries is just his inconsistency and a bit of a black hole, in my opinion, when he touches the ball, as Zoo talked about last week. So, yeah, man, I think overall they're just too much. They have too much power at pretty much every position for this Heat team, and you can tell it. Jimmy and Bam are just exhausted at this point. They fought, man. They fought, but it's 3-1. I don't think they got a shot.
Dude, they have zero shot, man. As I said, man, the Miami Heat offense, man, before the series, didn't have enough firepower with this offense of the Denver Nuggets, man. Making this Heat defense look easy sometimes, especially with Yoke and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon getting the party last game with hitting some tray balls, man. Yeah, but I'm going to start with Game 3, man. Game 3 was 2 virtuoso performances, man.
Yeah.
30-point triple-doubles. That tandem, the last time I saw a tandem that good was LeBron and Kyrie in the NBA Finals when they were each dropping 40 pieces, but they dropped 30-piece triple-doubles, man. And like the bench players, the role play, they didn't do nothing. It was a two-man show that game. Like, it was one of those games. I was just watching. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Jamal Murray, when he's on a heater, man, he can get as hot as any player in the NBA. Like, his jump shot, his post moves, his fadeaways, his pull-up threes, him and Yoke, man, when they're rolling, this tandem, this duo in the playoffs, like kind of the bubble year and this year, man, they have been historically great together. Historically great with this Nuggets roster right now. So right now, that ass whooping that they had with the 30-point triple dubs, man. And you got to shout out you mentioned Aaron Gordon, man. Aaron Gordon, that trade that they did years ago back with the Orlando Magic when they got Aaron Gordon at the trade deadline. And when he immediately fit, he just fit perfectly, man. And his ability to cut with Jokic, man. This is the reason why Jokic gets a lot of his assists. Just lobbing up to Aaron Gordon. Like, he is an athlete, man. Like, legit, like, he's just at the rim. He's reverse. He just chuck it up there. Aaron Gordon's like, I'm going to just go up and get it, man. I'm just going to go up and get it. His ability to finish at the rim is impeccable. His defense and physicality against Jimmy Butler has really affected him. And you see, like, Jimmy Butler, when Aaron Gordon is on him, he does not like going in the lane against him.
No.
Because Aaron Gordon is just a bigger dude, that's a stronger dude, that's faster than him, and can jump higher than him. He's just a better athlete than Jimmy Butler. Like, every time Jimmy gets a switch onto KCP or Christian Braun or Jamal Murray, that's why he gets aggressive, because he has a physical advantage. But when you put Aaron Gordon on him, man, Jimmy Butler is very fast. He's more driving in. There's that thing, pass it to Mr. Max Strus, Mr. Donut himself, man. Like, this is why they got Tyler Hero back right now, because Mr. Strus is not showing up. Those guys that we called undrafted, there's a reason we keep calling them undrafted guys, man, because we're regression back to the mean. This ain't surprising. This ain't surprising. Like, they are what they are, man. And them dropping, Gabe Vincent dropping 20 points for multiple games, that's not normal. That is not normal. Max Strus hitting like 5-6 threes consistently, that's not normal. He's a good shooter, man, but that consistent shooting
for any shooter, that's tough.
Dude, that is so. Yeah, even for guys like Klay Thompson, Steph Curry's that stuff. Like, Max Strus ain't gonna keep up that production. Like, you see Caleb Martin, like he ain't a factor this series. I know he got sick, but like, he's just not a factor this year. Like, this dude was dropping 15 to 20 points a game against the Boston Celtics, and then on the Miami Heat right now, he's barely getting any playing time, like significant playing time. Like, he's just like he's like 8th guy off the bench right now in this series. So he's been a non-factor. So a lot of these things happening, and this is the Denver Nuggets team. They're not even playing their best basketball right now. No. Michael Porter Jr. has been a 0 on offense.
Yes.
The jump shot is affecting other parts of his game. You see a couple times he drove in the lane, tried to get a little wide open. He had a little missed, just brick. He got a nice little dunk, but outside of that, like his mentality right now, he's just out of it. And they don't need him. That's the crazy part. Exactly. They don't need him. Their guy that they're playing max money as a third option has been a 0 on offense and hasn't affected them. They just have another guy step. I mean, like, even KCP, he's been pretty bad this series. They're paying him a lot of money. Defensively, he's been a little stupid, but outside the stupidity, man, like, he's been playing, like, KCP has been playing below his contract right now. He has not been that good relative to the Lakers series where he's playing elite defense, now making.
I feel like that was personal. That's why
it was personal. After they won a championship, send him to the Wizards, man. That's personal, man. It's very, very personal. Send him to the Washington. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're not playing at their full capacity. And as I said, Nuggets in 5, baby. That's what's going to happen. Nuggets in 5, man. Like, they're going to take care of business, man. They're going to take care of business. Like, the one series they lost, Miami shot 49% from 3. And Jamal Murray had a 3-point shot to send it to overtime. So if he hits that shot, they go into overtime, and who knows what happens. And that's what it took. And right now, the Heat, 95 points, 94 points, 93 points. They can barely hit 100.
They can't hit threes, Zoo.
In the modern era, they can't hit 100.
And that's the thing. I was just looking at some of the numbers in Game 4. I mean, we talked about Jokic and Murray did not combine. Murray obviously had a worse game than Jokic did, but they both, for their regular efficiency levels, were nowhere near where they usually are off games. Well, their other 3, AG, KCP, and Bruce Brown, shot 70% combined. And they shot 50% as a team from 3 with Jamal Murray and Jokic. I think Jokic actually might have hit 3 threes in that game, which is a lot for him.
Yeah,
that we've seen in the playoffs. But that's absurd. I mean, I know that they ended up winning by 13 or 14 points, but I mean, that's not going to happen again. Like, they're not going to get 70% from their non-big 3, quote unquote, if you do want to include MPJ in there. I think Aaron Gordon's the better player
for 4 again.
Yeah, he's not going 3 for 4, but he's been the 3rd best player on this team.
Yeah.
Probably
the series for sure.
At least the series. Even the playoffs, I think overall you could consider his factor has been huge if you include the defensive side of the ball, the hustle, the cutting. And to Zoo's point, when you have to watch the backdoor cut every single time for just an easy Jokic pass for a layup to Gordon, that's going to leave Bruce Brown. That's why he's shooting 3 for 5 from 3, man. He's just got that wide open corner 3, and he's going to hit that. So, I'm not saying that this is going to mount a 3-1 comeback for the Heat, but I do think they have a good chance because they've been shooting like high 20s as a team from 3. If they have another 40-plus point percentage game and we don't see 70% from the field from a lot of these Nuggets, tertiary stars, I think they have a chance in this game. But
now Denver, when they played Phoenix, were they up? They wasn't. Was it 2-2?
It was tied 2-2. It was tied 2-2. They were up 2-0.
So
they won in 6.
Like you said, there's a chance that Miami. I guess you could say they played well as we're just a team that's the 8th seed. We're just here and we're just going to play and shoot and do whatever. And I think that's probably why they were shooting so well, because I still think, even though they kept advancing through the playoffs, I still think they were thinking, like, we're still that playing 8 seed. Like, nobody thinks we're supposed to be here. We're just going to play freely. But I think now when you get to the finals, when it's only you and another team, and the only way you can not win the championship is if you lose to the other team. Like, there's no other round to go to. So I think now they've tensed up, and I think you saw that a lot in Game 4. I do think with Miami, it's going to be interesting, like, as the offseason goes on. I don't know everybody's contract situation with them, but I think out of all those guys, it's starting to, like, Gabe Vincent would be a guy I would probably prioritize out of all those guys. Because, I mean, Caleb Martin, not saying that he didn't dominate, because he did dominate, and not dominate, but he played really well in the Eastern Conference Finals. I do like his skill set as another wing, but it's just like you're seeing, he was sick, but you just don't know how much that factored into how he's playing the series. Max Strus, I feel like he had I guess a bounce back in Game 2, but after that, it's been like, where have you been?
Came back to earth.
And they definitely have, come back to earth. And it's unfortunate because I also think Jimmy's not playing to his standards, because I think most Heat fans, if you asked them before the series, they were probably, if they're saying, like, what do you think Jimmy needs to average? They would all say he needs to be in the 30, 35 point range for us to win the series, not so much keep up, but win the series. And I don't know if he's hit 30 at all in this series. I think he's got like 28,
28 was his high.
So maybe it's the ankle, maybe it's something else, stuff like that comes up when, you're not playing the best and you're losing. But I'm just saying, like, it's just been tough because this entire run that the Heat have been on, what's been constant is their teamwork. And it makes you wonder, because they have shot really, like, extremely well throughout the entire playoffs. And it makes you wonder, like, and I hate to say this because the series is now they could come back. I mean, we were saying the same things when Boston, was down 3-0 and, they came back and made it 3-3 and it was a Game 7. But the difference between that is, the Boston guys had 2 All-NBA guys who were just playing below standards, and they finally woke up and was like, oh, shoot, like, we might go home and get swept. And Miami doesn't have 2 All-NBA guys just like waiting in the wings that could mount a comeback. So it's kind of making you wonder, like, in the offseason, like, I think it might be time for them to try to at least get Jimmy another start, because as much as we love Jimmy Butler and he's great for social media because he gives me a lot of content and people just like to get behind him, like it's kind of, it's realizing like, he's a star. He's a nice piece, but I don't know if you want to just have him as your main guy that's having undrafted guys. And, I don't listen to a lot of Ryan Russillo stuff, but I caught one of his podcasts where he just kept picking against the Heat the entire time because he's just like, this just doesn't make really any sense. Like, it's not about, this. I mean, he was saying this about team, but it's just like, even though he was wrong in the Boston series, he's picking Denver in 6 because it just they have the better players. They have 2 all NBA guys. They have one superstar and one potential superstar, Jamal Murray. Like the averages are going to even out, and that's what's happening in this series. So unless they're shooting really well, Miami, they're just not going to be able to keep up with Jokic because, like you said, your point about Michael Porter, like that's going to be a very interesting conversation. I feel like for Denver in the offseason because, not saying Christian Brown is his peer in terms of talent, but just in terms of overall fit next to those stars. Like I think part of Michael Porter's problem is you got to remember, like he was the number 1 high school kid coming out. He had a back problem, so that's why he fell to Denver and they were able to pick him, but his mentality, he was running around with Trae Young on AAU circuits and he was the best player. So his mentality, even though he's not playing well right now, is I'm a star. So I'm going to wonder how, if Christian Brown comes in the next season and develops more of a 3-point shot and becomes a focal point, they're like, okay, Michael Porter, having 3, because with the second aprons, which is above my pay grade in terms of how all that stuff works. But would it be cost efficient to have Michael Porter on your roster? Like if you can just trade him out and maybe give him a, I don't know where you would send him, but put him in a position where he's a number 2 guy, because I do think it is difficult knowing that, I mean, I wouldn't be respect the job, but I would not want to be anywhere near Ja in that team right now. Because who even knows if Ja will even be on that team in a year from now. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But it's just like that's an interesting subplot, which is not going to affect this series. But I was just thinking that when I was watching Game 4 and watching how he was playing, it's just like I don't know, maybe.
And Christian Brown, I think to your point, Sean, he's just more complimentary.
Yeah, that's it. He's not a better player. He's
not a better player. He's just a better fit. And having I hate using the term black hole, but it's so widely used for a lot of NBA players that once they get it, you're not seeing it again, right? That's why he averages like 1 assist a game, man. You could probably bet the under on 1 assist, and you might hit it in a parlay. So, I just think having that as your third option when you're not a savvy veteran, right? Like we saw that kind of in the Celtics big 3 back in the day. Like all 3 of those guys were number 1 options on their respective teams before they came to Boston, or Paul Pierce already was. But they just knew that, hey, look, we're all here for the same goal. MPJ is still trying to prove himself in his career, coming off the injury, proving that he's worth the money. And I just think that, it's good for this championship run. But to your point, going forward, money-wise on top of the fit, I think it is something to consider.
Yeah, MPJ, MPJ is actually in Mike Malone's doghouse. You see him, like he has called him out. He has not called him out by name, but based on his post-game press conferences, his interviews, talking about effort, man, talking about the shot affecting you, he's pretty much implying MPJ, your effort on defense is not getting it done.
Yeah.
And legit, we saw that when Bruce Brown was closing games. Christian Brown closing games. You see these guys in the fourth quarter playing a significant amount of minutes while MPJ is sitting on the bench with us just watching the game, and he being a good teammate. But the brother's making a max contract. Especially the new CBA rules, you gotta be careful where you allocate your money. Maybe in the future, because MPJ's role on the team is a spot up shooter, a role playing role. Get rebounds, shoot threes. That's his role on the team. Play defense. Maybe you trade him, man, for more complementary pieces as in role players and having more depth. Because if you look at the Denver Nuggets team right now, very, very shallow, man. 7, 8 at most deep, but pretty much a 7-man lineup that he trusts. And I think Brown this year, he's going to get paid.
Yeah.
He's going to get paid this year, man, especially with the way he's been playing. He's making $6 million a year, so he's going to be looking for a massive contract because he's playing starter minutes right now. So they're probably going to lose him.
Be Austin Reeves level. Maybe not that high, but kind of a similar. Yeah, but I mean, he's
probably 60
rookie,
maybe 60, $70 million.
Are you talking about Brown or Brown? Which one? Braun or Brown? Which one are you guys talking
Brown.
Okay, Brown. I was like,
Brown.
wait,
The
that
sixth
guy-
man, not the Kansas, not the Kansas,
Oh,
boy.
Yeah,
not
not
the
the
Kansas,
Kansas rookie.
not
No,
the
Bruce
Kansas
Brown
boy, man.
probably could
Bruce
have
Brown.
the
Yeah,
Bruce
Bruce Brown. Yeah, they got two Browns on the bench. Yeah, Mr. Bruce Brown. He's looking for a
Yeah.
big payday.
I think Bruce would get. I would still say it's not Austin, because Austin has shown the
12.
ability to shot create.
Score way more.
Yeah,
Yeah, he can
and
score.
he can do a little bit of a lot.
But
Like ball
$60
handling,
million?
shot creation is gonna be up.
$60 million seems very reasonable for a guy playing significant minutes in the NBA Finals.
You know, I could totally see, because I brought up Trey and Michael Porter. I could totally see a scenario if Trey doesn't get moved that they would move to get Michael Porter if he was available. I actually think that wouldn't be a bad fit in Atlanta. I don't, especially with them having chemistry, like two explosive offensive guys. Now I don't know if they'd be able to keep DeJounte, but I like that scoring punch, because I always like guys who've played together before. They at least should have chemistry and you know what buttons to push. But
I was gonna say, if the
but
Knicks,
I do think Michael Porter needs to leave.
the Knicks move on from Randall, could also be something to
That's
pair
another
with
one
Brunson.
too. Yeah,
That could be
another
nice.
second option.
It would take a little bit away from RJ, and I don't know how well that would mesh, but
I don't even
he
know
seems
what,
like he wants the big lights. MPJ loves just the big lights, right? And as long as if
he
Randall's
was
no
no
longer on the
recruit,
team,
man. Like before he had that back injury, they were comparing him to Durant. Like he was
KD.
silky smooth, offensive, could do a lot of stuff, and then he got hurt. And at Missouri, he was up and down.
Now
which
he
happens to a
just
lot
plays
of
like an
guys.
old man, just chucking threes. Like even his back just looks a little awkward. He just doesn't look like a fluid athlete.
yeah, I could go out there and do that job. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But hopefully, the Miami Heat give us at least a 6th game. It would be nice, because no
like a
one, I
series.
think, who are massive NBA fans or excited about the season ending, even though the draft will be after that. But still, it's nothing like watching NBA basketball. And we then get into the dog days of the summer when you're talking, because even hockey would be ending. So it's just basically baseball, golf, I guess. And people doing their early fantasy football, drafts and homework. So maybe that carries you through July. But
post NBA draft time is NFL study time, man. That's what it is, man. I'm ready this year. I'm back with a vengeance after last year's deuce. I dropped a deuce last year, man. 0 for 5, man. 0 for 5, man. Embarrassment.
Well, speaking of one of the guys that might have screwed you over, man, I think we're going to dive into a little NFL here. Dalvin Cook.
Are we talking Dalvin? Are we talking Dalvin Cook? Dalvin Cook.
What do you think, Zoo?
Dalvin Cook, man. I had him in years past, dropping 22 points per game, fantasy points per game, man. But looking like those days are over, man. And the Vikings believe it too. Like workhorse running back, they're like, okay, we're not going to pay him, man. Alexander Madison, that's our guy. Moving on. Dalvin Cook, I don't even blame him. Because last year, man, even though his overall stats are actually pretty good, like 1,000+ yards, like a lot of touchdowns, but it's the way he plays, very inconsistent on the way he plays. And he might be hitting that running back wall, man, that age where they fall off a cliff, man. But my boy Cook still got some life left, man. He still got some life left, man.
He might have a year or two.
Yeah, seriously, he got some life left, man. And this year, man, you get him in the later rounds, man. And depending on the situation, man, I'm like a team like Miami, man. Got my eyes on Miami, man. Because Dalvin Cook in an elite offense, man. Because if you give him goal line touch, he catching goal line touches, man. He's a great goal line back. Like he just has a nose for the end zone. Like historically, this guy just gets touchdown. Might not be the most that yards per carry ain't going to be the most sexy thing in the world, man. But he's going to be getting tutties, and he's still got that big play ability. His last play, man, for the Vikings, so that running down, that massive like 50-yard run down for a tutty, man, he still has big playability. So if he gets a hold, sometimes he can make a splash, man. You're talking about this Dolphins offense, man. It's just an aerial assault. You add that with the RB like him, man. Like no disrespect to Raheem Mostert, man, but Dalvin Cook's a different animal compared to him. And they're all about that offense, man. And they like passing to their backs too. So. Man, give that team another weapon, man, because that conference is getting a little tough now. It's an arms race. It's an arms race right now. We hear like a couple other teams going for wide receivers in the conference. Talk about that a little later. But man, oh man, it's an arms race. Aaron Rodgers down there, man. Like you're gonna need to score 20+ every single week if you're trying to be relevant in this division. So the more offense.
So you think Miami needs? I know that's kind of, it seems to be his number one hope. I mean, who doesn't want to move to Miami?
Miami, nice weather, man. Easier on those knees, man. Getting a little older, man, and the warmer weather. Great offense, great head coach. So I like the fit on offense.
I agree with that. I think that would be my number one spot. And I do think they have the money to pay him too. I mean, I just think that they're more willing to kind of be all in. I think that they're finally all in on Tua. Hopefully he doesn't have too many injuries this year. We know what he went through last year, and that this team can stay healthy. But man, I'm also looking at the Bills, man. I'm going to keep bringing it up every year, man. They need a running back, and Dalvin Cook could be prime example. Now, that's no shade to James Cook because I do think he's actually shown some solid life. It's just that they run like a triple tandem of running backs. Devin Singletary, right? We've seen
Naheem, all that.
Yeah, Naheem Hines is there now too. But if you bring in Dalvin Cook, like that's a clear cut number one. I think James Cook could use another year of kind of being the secondary back before asking him. Now, this is obviously a pass first offense, but it's not that Dalvin Cook's a bad back out of the backfield in the receiving game. I mean, he's maybe not as good as we've seen Alexander Madison be for the Vikings, but he's no scrub. And Josh Allen, if he has that ability, could be great. Yeah, I mean, Dolphins, I think that they are the clear cut. I'd love to see him come to the Bears. I think that would just make it easily the best rushing attack in the league. But they already have a very busy running back room. I think it would really downgrade Deontay Foreman's kind of his standing, as the goal line back there, and Herbert kind of being the 3-down kind of guy. But yeah, man, I think he's probably going to end up going to the Dolphins. I think he posted that one picture of him leaving.
Yeah,
Hard
he posted.
Rock Stadium.
Yeah, that was
so
a dead giveaway.
I'm sure that's kind of hinting towards, hey, let's try and work on a deal here. But I do think, to your point, Zoo, the arms race in the AFC East. I'm also looking what the Bills do because I think they finally need to pull the trigger on one. They didn't do it with McCaffrey last year, obviously, but Dalvin Cook, not that he's second to McCaffrey.
Yeah.
There are better running backs than Dalvin Cook, but he's still a hell of a good running back if you can get another year or two out of him. So,
I think your point that you just made about them not pulling the trigger on McCaffrey might give them. They might be like the dark horse because I think everybody. I mean, my consensus is Miami too, just because he's from there. Better on your body. He might be able to last 2 more years because of just the weather itself. But the Bills do need to just considering they have Josh Allen, who's on the Madden cover, by the way. They have Diggs, but I do think it's just important to have named guys that, even though Dalvin Cook may not be who he was 3-4 years ago, I still think it's important to just have that type of name recognition in your locker room, guys. Because to me, if you bring Dalvin Cook in that backfield, even though I think it would be kind of weird and funny that he'd be in the same backfield with his brother, but it's like that's the competition alone. I feel like it's going to make everyone better because a lot of people are going to be thinking, Dalvin comes in, he's the guy, and they're just going to, think he's going to keep all the runs and do all the, third down plays and stuff like that. And I think it's going to bring guys in with a better attitude. And that's what you need on a team that's trying to compete for a championship and get your Super Bowl.
Yep.
But me, I agree with Miami. I do think an interesting fit would be Dallas, considering they got rid of Ezekiel. Pollard's coming off of his injury. Now, I know Pollard got injured during the championship game, and he, all signs are saying he's probably going to be back by the season. But just off an explosive aspect, if Pollard comes back, let's just say 90% of what he was, that is an explosive backfield. And
I more explosive than Zeke.
Yeah, way more explosive than Zeke. But I think that would be a really interesting backfield because you're now looking at 2 guys who are home run hitters. I wouldn't call Dalvin a bruising back, but I think, you can find those guys on the market somewhere, a goal line guy. But I think just having those 2 guys as options, Tony Pollard, we know is a pass catching back. Dalvin's got okay hands, but just giving Dak more options. Dak's going to have his receivers. They got their tight end, I think Dalton Schultz, whatever, but they're going to have guys that's going to be able to go out of the backfield, catch the ball. You can get creative. Maybe there's some plays where you got both of them on the field. And with Jerry, he has shown in the past that he'll spend money on free agency or free agents. Big name free agents, not the run the mill. He likes to get the big name guy. So if it's not a big name guy, he's probably just going to be like, I'll just draft a guy. But I'm intrigued by the Dallas option because Dallas does like to, trend towards their offense, and I think early in the season he can get a lot of carries. So that would be something that I would be interested in if I was a Dallas fan.
I ain't touching Dalvin this year in fantasy. I'll just say that.
No, I'm not either. Not either. It would have to be a particular situation. Or it's like he just dropped so far where you're like, oh, well, I'll take a little flyer.
And he's like, if he drops to the 4th, 5th round, I'm taking him. That ain't happening though.
Have a blast.
If he's dropping late, I'm taking him, man. I'm taking my boy late.
You know, this is just giving me deja vu of taking Zeke last year, man. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay. Zeke was not that bad. He was not as good as I thought, but he's still an RB2. Still an RB2.
I think Dalvin still has a little bit more juice than Zeke. I'll say that. I don't think he's on Zeke level, but
absolutely.
It would still have to be a very enticing round where I'm like, I'll just take him here. Like if people were just, but then I would get nervous. He's like, why is everybody passing up on him again? Like maybe I'm seeing something. So it's just like, yeah. But fast forward and going to our last one. This one's interesting because DeAndre Hopkins is, I don't know if you say quietly, but he's been one of the best receivers for a while. And one of the more impressive things about him was he was doing it early in his career with no quarterbacks until he got Deshaun. And, when you saw him get Deshaun, he just continued his pace of being a great receiver. He went to Arizona. He had, a couple good seasons, but, he got cut and now he's kind of weighing his options. He's been kind of pushing out, videos, and he's been showing pictures with like Von Miller and all these guys, just trying to, test the market and see what he can do. But for me, I'll start like a couple options where I think he would be nice. At first, like my first thing that came into my head, I was like New England, because he had that conversation. Like Belichick, I think DeAndre is one of the best receivers.
Yeah.
But the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, dude, like Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, like, wait, that's what you want, you throwing you the ball? Like, no disrespect to those guys, but it's like you want an established guy. So then for me, it's like that cut out a lot of options. So to me, the most natural fit, I feel like now, depending on how much money they have, I think the Browns is the most natural fit for him. I think that's the most natural fit. He has the chemistry with the quarterback. Amari Cooper is a go route type receiver, so it's not like a clash in terms of running route running styles. And I think DeAndre still wants to prove he's a number 1, number 2 type guy. I think he could do that in Cleveland quite easily. Yeah. I think that would be somewhere where he can go in, establish himself as a number 2. Deshaun, because like you say, if you're going to pay Deshaun the guaranteed money that you paid him, you better get him weapons. And if that means you got to move contracts around, Deshaun may have to move his money around, restructure, whatever. I'm sure he would be happy to do that if he knew he was getting DeAndre. So I think that would be the most natural fit for me, because I do think if they were to get him, that makes that division a little interesting, just because Deshaun having that chemistry and having someone like Amari Cooper who's his number 1 guy. And now you're telling me that Donovan Peoples-Jones is your third guy. I like him in that position as a third guy versus a second guy, because that's not saying he can't
kind of guy,
Yeah. I want him in that third, third DB, third or fourth DB. I like him trying to cook that guy. So for me, the Browns was the most natural fit. That.
I mean, that was the one I was looking at too. And to your point, I just thought it was a good compliment, because he's obviously everyone gets the attention on D-Hop, but you can't forget about Amari Cooper, right? So, I mean, it'll help each other out. I think money would be the issue. I know where Zoo's going with this. He's going to say, join my boy Patty Mahomes in Kansas City.
You're reading my mind, man. Some Professor X stuff, man. Come on now.
But the money aspect is different there, right? I mean, he'd probably have to take a significant pay cut to play there. Obviously, to your point, Sean, we'd have to really look at the Browns situation to see if it's kind of similar in that sense. And I'm actually going to go back to the team I just talked about, man. The Bills could be another interesting story. Gabe Davis is not a number 2. He's another guy that he looks like a number 2, but he's a better number 3. And I think, the weather could be an issue that DeAndre doesn't want to play there. But I think his biggest caveat is he wants to win. And we're talking about one of the best teams in the league who's consistently right there in the playoffs, competing with the best teams in the league like the Chiefs. Something to consider. Give Josh Allen another weapon. Now, could they do Dalvin and DeAndre? Probably not. They might have to end up weighing their options. But I think either way, they both kind of have a need at the running back position, as well as a solid number 2 that can be consistent for you, that can draw coverage away and help out Diggs and Davis even more. So, that's what I'm thinking of. Chiefs, obviously, Zoo, of course. Why wouldn't they want to sign DeAndre Hopkins? But I think the Bills and the Browns have a bit more feasible options for him. when it comes down to salary cap and such. So,
dude, I tell D-Hop, you want to win AFC Invitational, man. That's what we can. We're gonna be in the Final Four, man. That's what we're gonna do, with or without you. You want to jump on this bandwagon? You see what Odell Beckham jumping on that Rams and getting that Super Bowl championship has done for him, and then he got his bag from the Baltimore Ravens, man. You can always make money later, man. You're getting up in age, man. You're in your 30s now. You're not in your you're still like not that old, but you might have a couple of years left. You try to win. If you all about winning, KC's the place to be, man. You give Mahomes the number one option because right now the number one option is Kadarius Toney. Like that guy ain't proven. He's very talented.
Travis Kelce.
Very injury prone.
Yeah,
but he ain't proven as no number one, man. Obviously there's Kelce out there being a beast, but DeAndre Hopkins, you and Patrick Mahomes, man, it'd be Tom Brady and Randy Moss all over again, man. Let's ride, baby. We're getting tutties for days, man. You're going to be getting touchdowns, man. Nuke. We dropping some nukes with Patty Mahomes,
Nuke ain't going to be getting 20-plus touchdowns. I don't give a damn who
that
it is. He's good, but he's getting up there in age, man. I don't know if he can put up 20, but I get what you're saying.
Not allow him to get 20 touchdowns.
Mahomes will throw you open, man. I'm telling you, man. Travis Kelce cannot be carrying this load, man. He's also getting up there in age, man. So they need another guy to share some of the target load with Travis Kelce, man. Like Travis Kelce in his mid-30s. Yep. Doesn't look like it. Last year, it doesn't look like it, man. He looks like in his prime still, man. Yep. But he's still getting up there in age, man. So I want to offload some of the target share to another option, Mr. D-Hop, man. Kansas City restructured the contract. You got Patrick Mahomes, who's willing to work with the Kansas City Chiefs of doing whatever to get it done. Because I said Mahomes, man, if he wanted money, he could have got more. I still remember when he signed that deal. I remember said he gave them a discount, man. And now you see all these quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson getting these massive contracts, man. You got Mr. Mahomes. Like, okay, I'm fine, man. I don't need those massive contracts, man. Just reorganize, restructure my contract. I'm about winning Super Bowls, man. He's trying to catch up to Tom Brady. And to do that, you have to reload the team every year, even after you win a championship, man, because you don't get better after winning a championship. You always take a step back, but that's why you got to reload to get back up to that championship level, man. And if you want to go to the Bills, you want to lose again to the AFC, man, come on. That's what they do, man. All they do is lose before the AFC championship, man. If you want to join that team, go ahead. Go Cleveland Browns, Cleveland doo-doo. Stop it, man. Deshaun Watson, Jesus Christ. You want to be attached with that, brother? You know what they're going to be Googling Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins? Jesus. You don't want to be contaminated by that name, man. Mr. Masseuse.
I mean, you're not wrong.
There,
I just think...
Yeah, you're not being contaminated by that, brother, man. I don't want no relations with
out of
Deshaun
everybody
Watson.
I don't think
no relations with that. And after last year, Deshaun, man, looked like he was a year off of playing football. He was god-awful. He was god-awful.
That's what he looked like he was, and he was. So, I mean, I think he'll have a better year.
No, he better. Because it's pretty hard to have a worse year than that because he was probably a bottom 10 quarterback last year.
I mean, he was just missing throws. He was just not in rhythm at all.
Yeah, so if I'm D-Hop, I want to play with a guy who's rusty with off-the-court issues or Mr. Mahomes. Take the pay cut, man. Money, you'll get plenty of money after winning a championship, man. After that, then you can get your massive bag the year later, a.k.a. pull a Juju. Like, Juju Smith-Schuster got the bag.
So
Juju Smith-Schuster got the bag. That dude wasn't even that good.
Well, Juju, I think younger. But do
he was
DeAndre,
he was not that good.
Considering that he got cut by Arizona, it's not like he got the contract was out. He got cut. So you think if he has a great year in Kansas City, he's going to get a huge bag after that? Why would they give that?
I'm not saying long term. Maybe like 1 to 2 years, man. Some big contracts offloaded first 2 years.
Maybe. But here's a dark horse I was looking at too. Is like it was my second option. So when I was looking at teams, it's like, okay, who would be another option for DeAndre? Or for Hopkins. I was looking at the Baltimore Ravens, and I think the offensive coordinator, or not offensive coordinator, but the tight ends coach, who was his offensive coordinator, I might be getting the position wrong, receiver coach, whoever, was his offensive coordinator at the Texans, and I think that was his first Pro Bowl year where he got like 1,500 yards, and he's with the Ravens. You're looking at a scenario where I kind of like the fit of Odell as your over-the-top guy if he returns back to form. DeAndre is your other receiver, and then Zay Flowers coming in as a slot. Like, that's a
With Mark
loaded
Andrews.
receiver room. And I think that could, if Zay comes in and he's that guy who they're saying is, because he got drafted in the first round, if he's that guy and it could come in and really be that number 3, I like that a lot because you got DeAndre eating routes underneath. You got Odell over the top. You got
Mark
Lamar
Andrews
with
up
his
the
running
middle.
ability and move. Yeah, Mark Andrews up the middle. Like Isaiah Likely is another guy who stretches the field as a tight end. He's kind of like a receiver tight end. But anyways, like all those options, I kind of like that. And knowing that the coach that got him his first Pro Bowl, he's there on the roster, I think that could be a pitch. And I think Baltimore has a little bit more money than a lot of these other teams we're talking about. So if we're just talking about money and fit, that could be a dark horse right there. But I still think the relationship with Deshaun would be something to look at. I get your point about Patrick Mahomes, but
Of course.
I mean,
who wouldn't want
trying to
play
win,
with
man.
everybody wants to play there, but I mean,
Yeah.
if put it this way, if I'm getting right now, if the money's better anywhere else, like how Baltimore could probably pay more, I probably would go there. Because I you know what I also think too with a lot of these guys, and I've seen this in the NBA, I think us as fans care about the championships. I think the only people in the NFL that care about the championships is like maybe the franchise and quarterbacks, because that's what we talk about with those guys. A lot of these other skill guys, just like, man, I don't think championship is the first thing on their list.
Get paid, right? Get their
Yeah,
numbers.
I don't think they're really like how we're all like, oh man, they're not like,
because
and
they're
probably in the NBA.
reliant on other people, right? The quarterback is making the decisions.
Yeah,
like if you mess up, you are the reason you lose. But a wide receiver, man, unless you're DeAndre Hopkins in like 2016, where he's playing with God knows who as quarterback,
Brock
Osweiler, man. You want to talk about a guy getting paid, man? Jesus, there's a name. But yeah, I mean, that's my point. Is he put up his numbers? It propelled him to getting future contracts and pretty much set him up for the rest of his NFL career. He's always going to be known. He'll always be known as a threat, no matter when he's pushing 35. He still might get a 1-year deal because he can also coach some of the younger guys too. So it also could just help Lamar, to your point.
Kind of like how Andre Johnson did him too.
Exactly.
Like Andre Johnson,
Roddy
was the guy
White
who was the number one.
Did that with Julio. Julio did that with Calvin Ridley to no avail. The man still bets on NFL games. But that's my point, is that it is kind of nice to have continuity of, overlapping generations when it comes to your positional players. So that is a good point, but
yeah, we'll see. Like I say, it's still early. We'll see how it all turns out. I am going to be interested because outside of that, I didn't see anybody on the free agent list that I was interested in and who I think it would shift their team if they signed there. So, NFL is still king, and we still had to get some topics in there about that. And, fantasy football will be right around the corner after the NBA draft. NBA draft will be coming up. Like I said, I'll be trying to see who I'll do some player profiles on bullheaded_pod, which is our Instagram page. Quantrill Knows, which is our YouTube page. Putting up these videos here, putting up clips, YouTube shorts, putting up all kind of videos relating to NFL, NBA content. Make sure you guys tune into that. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to all of our platforms: Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are.